What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Hitting the Bars. It's your girl, Savvy Wavy One with KOC. How's it going?
I'm doing good, a little overwhelmed, but excited, nervous. Life's good, craziness, end of summer. How about you?
Do you want to tell everybody why you feel that way?
Well, this weekend I'm going to pretend I'm headlining, but actually I'm just closing out the show. But I'm going to be doing my first music festival as a DJ, which is crazy. So I'm closing out. I'm doing at 8:30 and then the 10:30 after before and after the headliner on Friday, August 31st in Kelowna on Denim on the Diamond. And I am so nervous, but so excited. I just want to go above and beyond. So I'm making usually when you DJ, you can wing it. Like you can just kind of listen and go on the go. Like that's what you do in a nightclub. And that's normally, but I'm trying to plan a full set and make unique edits and unique transitions. So it's a lot. And I'm also playing on big girl equipment, which I won't bore anyone with the details, but I'm playing on CDJs for the first time, which I wish I got to play on, but they're $50,000 pieces of equipment. So I don't own those. So I'm just nervous, but excited.
I think you'll crush it. We're sending you good vibes. And how did you get it? How does one get something like this?
Reached out actually just through You Never Know Who's Watching. A subscriber works for the one there's companies that run with music festivals and all that kind of thing. She does one of those and she just works for it, and she's like, I saw you're a DJ and would love you to be a part. And yeah, that's how it all started.
That's amazing.
I know,
that's so cool.
Trying to make a good impression. I'm trying not to be a diva. I'm just trying to go with the flow, be prepared,
because everybody knows you're a diva.
I know. I'm just trying to, I feel it's like a job interview. I just want everyone to have a good time. I want people in the crowd be like, oh, bop, absolute bop after bop. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it'll go well.
Yeah. Or if not, you know what I mean? I'm going to have a good time. I think the songs are good. And I put in Chapel Roan, Charlie XCX. The girls will be fed. The girls will be fed.
Taylor Swift?
There is one Taylor Swift song. One Taylor Swift.
Oh, good.
And I do have a lot of Taylor Swift, but I'm that's as a DJ, I'm going to put it out there. And if there's not a response, okay, one Taylor Swift. But if they go crazy, I'm okay, I got some backup for you. So you kind of have to play the field.
What's the one song? Love Story?
No. I do have a Love Story remix. I can't remember which one. What's it? I have 200 songs on that playlist, so I won't lie. I don't have them all memorized, but there is one Taylor Swift one. I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
How's your week?
Week equally stressful in the sense of I'm dropping a challenge, a Fit Girl Fall challenge for those that want to participate in it. So I'm just building out the workout plans and filming a lot of content. And yeah, right now my work schedule is I wake up at 6 a.m. and then I don't stop working till 9:30. And it's just
for you.
I know, but it's fun. It's good. It's just I'm trying a different approach to things. And that sometimes just means seasons in your life are busy and then some they're slow.
I think that's I was my one girlfriend talked to me. I was I'm so stressed. And I was we're just in a period of overreach. Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes if you can just express that, you're this isn't forever. I'm overreaching a bit. I'll do the self-care things after. But right now, there's no other option. I was I can't just be oh, I'm not going to do the work today. You just have to get in the hours. And then after you can breathe. It's like studying for finals. Same kind of energy.
Yeah. And it's for my challenge, it's I want 50 girls to join my challenge and then I train them. And it's based off of an 8-week challenge because that's how I transform my body is 8 weeks typically. And so that's where I'm just going to be busy with calls, and I always meet all of my clients beforehand. I think people don't realize that. When I set up calls, it's I'm going to be talking and being this is how I will train you. This is how it's going to go in the challenge, but I'm going to have prizes and everything. So it's good. I've just never done a challenge like this, and I just want it to go so well. So that's where I'm this is what I actually like to do, is doing the fitness challenges, the trainings. That's been my newfound joy. So that's where I'm I'm not big on content necessarily right now. It's more of the logistics of the training, which is fun. because that's originally why I started online.
And sometimes you just need to find that. It's like nice, you do everything. Like, this is why, this brings me fulfillment. This is what I want to be doing. And you're so good at it. So it's a win-win.
Thank you. So anybody listening, if you want to join Fit Girl Fall, shoot me a DM.
I love that.
But I'm excited. I haven't launched it yet. So probably by the time this comes out. But my first hot take is I already started making pumpkin things officially. I bought pumpkin puree and I made the best, like healthier version pumpkin muffins today. And they were stunning. I've eaten 2 already and I'm going to go bring them to my Pilates girls tomorrow. Are you big on the pumpkin?
See, I'm big on the pumpkin, anti-pumpkin in August. And I'm just going to throw this as an additional hot take. I think Starbucks is quarterly something finances. I don't know. They're down. Starbucks isn't doing hot. And I think all they keep saying is pumpkin spice earlier. That's their rationale for everything. Just pump it early. Stop. Do the reverse. Make it later. Build up hype. Because like for me, it makes me want to like stay away from Starbucks right now. I'm like, no. I'm trying to hold on to summer. I want, you know what I mean? Like I have 2 months of summer in this country. And I don't want to talk about fall till it feels like fall. So lay off. So you know what I mean? So I was like, sometimes yours is different. We've discussed this because you don't really get a fall season. So you have to make it in your mind. But for me, I'm like, Starbucks, I feel, should just lay off the pumpkin. Brands need to lay off and keep it magical. Because now we have 6 months of pumpkin. And because of that, I have to like purposely wait until September 15th before I can order a PSL. I'm like, no. I will not touch it before. I won't go to Starbucks before. It's just like turn my eye, pretend it's not happening. And then I love it.
That is completely fair.
It's my favorite, like it's my favorite season. It's my favorite flavor, but I have to like withdraw from it. Yeah,
I get that. I definitely get it. Especially like if you want to prolong if you don't want to end up hating pumpkin by October as well. Sometimes it does lose its luster after a while.
Mini eggs are no longer a thing. Like mini eggs, we'd wait all year for it. That was the best. And now I'm like, I'll get a mini egg. Like they're no longer magical.
Oh, you can get them at any point?
Yeah, you can get them year round now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, year round. Like, there's always in the little checkout aisle. Stuff. There's a little bag. There's a little bag of it at all times, and I hate it. I'm like, it's dumb because now Easter comes around, and I'm like, oh, mini eggs in a bigger bag. Like, stop it. Like, take it away from me for a bit. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that is fair. Because every now and then I'm excited about the pumpkin, but then I hit a point where I'm annoyed. Or Christmas like music or something like that, where you're like, I have an obsessive personality, so I will like have it till I hate it always.
Same. I'm the exact same way. But like usually if we just wait till like end of September, that gives like a month and a half of pumpkin. And then, you know what I mean, starts snowing middle of November, your guys' Thanksgiving's done, gives us a month of peppermint. Like that's a good dose. Yeah. And then that's just enough time to hate sugar come January because you're like, I have lived off nothing but peppermint cookies and pumpkin pie for 6 months. I'm going to do a healthy habit of some sort.
Fair. Yeah. What is your hot take though?
My other hot take is I just actually thought this was quite interesting. So it's less of a hot take and more of a, I heard this, Stacey Stims. She's like a big component on like women training because a lot of studies in fitness have nothing to do with women. They're all studies on men. And so we hear this like fasting's great. And it's like there wasn't a single woman in the study. So she's kind of one of the leaders of just talking about women's research. And it was the difference of training we should focus on for a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, and a 40-year-old. So I just thought this was kind of interesting. So if you're in your 20s, she recommends learning proper form and training till failure. Like you have the ability to recover, you just have to focus on form. Versus when you turn 30, you should shift towards getting stronger, periodization a bit more. So like doing a 6-week progressive overload, taking a break, repeat. And then when you hit 40, it should just be about strength. And like ideally that's your form, just getting as strong as humanly possible. So I was like, that's, and like lifting compound. So kind of the idea is the younger you are, do a wide variety. You can do this isolation movements, ton of reps, till failure. And the older you get, the more compound movements and the more like less reps, heavier weight you should try to lift just to adapt with like the changes women go through. So I was like, I've never heard that. So I just thought I'd like, oh, that's a little less of a hot take and more an anti-hot take, just a bit more of the science behind it.
I love that. That's
Mm-hmm.
super cool.
Yeah.
Especially because you're right. Not a lot of there. I mean, feel like I listen to a lot of like podcasts
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to fitness, and not a lot specifically talk about women unless it has to do with like, I don't know, menstruation or something like that. They don't just talk in general of like as you get older and like how we biologically are different from men
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to how we put on muscle as we age, how we have, you know, different types of things that come up opposed to what a man would.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super cool.
Yeah. And it's even like what you said. I feel the sad part is most women podcasts in that world talk about like women, just the idea of women training. Like, you know what I mean? It's less of like, oh, what actually we need specifically. And it's just a bit more like pressure women to feel to change their body size, which we've heard. We all know. Like, there's no woman who's been like, wait, women feel self-conscious about their body size? like we've had that conversation. That's what's the next evolution of that. I'm like, okay, we know that. What do we do now? And so it's nice to hear those are coming out.
I like that. Okay,
Do you
well
have another
then
hot
to
take?
piggyback off of your as you get older, I had this like epiphany of the older you get, the less you care about little things, which is like easier, like it's like no shit Sherlock.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've really lately been focusing on just wanting like people in my life that like only, you know, amplify, only bring me really good energy. And I feel like when you're growing up, you don't have a choice of who you surround yourself with. So you like learn to kind of deal with, maybe it's family members, maybe it's students. And to be fair, like a lot of us do have, you know, a corporate job, or maybe they work in a hospital and you're always going to work with somebody that's not your cup of tea. But I feel like it's really cool that like in your personal life, you can, as an adult, like decide what you really care about and who you want to surround yourself with. Like I've just lately been really thinking of that, because I feel like I'm really thankful to have a group of friends lately where on the weekends we go and we swim and like we spearfish, and it's just like so refreshing opposed to like in the past, you know, maybe having groups of friends that just want to drink and party or like, you know, not really do the things that like encourage you to be a better person, where this like it does. So I've just been really enjoying that, finding that kind of group. I used to think I was crazy because I always wanted to swim and do like go nature, like do all like running, and I always do it by myself. Like Michael likes to swim, but only if he spearfishes. Like I got used to doing it by myself, thinking I was this weird girl that liked to do this stuff. And then I met people that liked to, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so nice just to spend a weekend doing that.
That's so nice. Like I think we've talked about in the past, like you just get over FOMO. It's not that you don't care what people think. It's like you've done it just a little. Like you haven't done the whole world by the end of your 20s. Like you're still so limited. But at the same time, you kind of have an idea of like, oh no, I know what being at a nightclub drunk till 2 a.m. is. And I know when that's worth it and not. And you just kind of have an idea of, you're like, oh, I tried that. It's not worth it. I'm not going to put my energy into. And so you no longer have FOMO, versus when you're in your 20s, everyone's like, this is the best thing ever. And you're like, oh, it must be. Everyone says it is. And you try it and you're like, mid.
Totally. And also just like realizing what kind of people you want to surround yourself with. Because, you know, for so long we are like forced to coexist with so many people no matter what. And I'm just in this era of being like, if I don't vibe with you, I don't vibe with you. And it's so peaceful.
So nice. And knowing you can do things with friends that isn't just dinner and drinks, which is fun. But like, I feel we were just like told that growing up, like you go to work and then you meet for dinner and a drink after, which is fine. But like, I won't lie, I'm overpaying $100 for a bowl. And you know what I mean, $200 if I want a glass of something on the side, because that's what it feels like everything's costing. You're like, there's versus like, I was like, why can't we hang out at 10 a.m. and go for a hot girl walk? Like, why can't we do that? Versus like you said, doing it alone.
I agree. I completely agree.
I love it. Well, speaking of things we can agree upon, the headlines. We love talking about trends. We got some trends that are trending for you guys in the fitness wellness world. And number one is a term you might have heard, especially if you're chronically online or on TikTok, and that is bed rotting. Is bed rotting unhealthy? First of all, just in case, do you know what bed rotting is? Shall we explain?
Explain away.
It is just exactly how it sounds. You've been there. Say there's kind of two versions of it. You wake up, your alarm's at Saturday, 9 a.m., and you just hit snooze. And you just stay in your bed for an extra hour. You might read a book. You might drink your coffee. You might watch a movie. You might just scroll on your phone. Either monster, you're just rotting away in your bed. On the flip side, you know what? You're not going to fall asleep for 3 hours, but you're going to sit in your bed, maybe have a snack, watch a Netflix binge before you go to bed. It's just you're rotting in your bed. And is it unhealthy or not? I would like to know your thoughts before we dive into some other sleeping habits that are trending.
I feel like this could be controversial because this is a topic people feel strongly about because if they're one way or the other. For me, bed rotting is unhealthy for me in the sense of I will literally become a sack of potatoes if I accept that as my new normal. So like I love on the weekends having a slow weekend. Like I like to bed rot, but I want it designated bed rotting because if I slowly allow it when I wake up and I slowly allow it each night to go on my phone and scroll, that'll just become my new norm. So for me, I cannot do it. I have to get up, get out of bed and like go about my day. And then once there becomes a time, then I can like quote unquote bed rot. But like what you're saying in the bed rotting of being like scrolling on your phone, doing that, like that's so not good for my mental health. I've been staying off of social media, just doing it for work because I don't know, it makes me kooky. What about you?
I don't want to sound like that obnoxiously balanced wellness girl, but like I cannot bed rot. I couch rot. I love a couch rot. That's my special place. Because saying about it, like I know I'm sitting on the couch scrolling on social media. It's like so like clearly this is what my couch. What else is a couch for but rotten? Like literally, it's just like relaxing. That's the whole point. Versus my bed, there was a point where I had to bed rot, but I bought myself a couch and it's my happy place. So like I don't want my bed associated with it. Like I have my couch for that. And for me, I don't have trouble falling asleep at all ever, knock on wood. And I think it's just because all I do in my bed is sleep. And it's like a hack that like if I go in my bed, I'm out within a minute. Like, and I have all the trackers that my sleep latency is like 2 minutes. And it's crazy how much it tricks your brain. And I used to have like ruminating thoughts, but now I don't know, like it's a nice little trick if you're someone who just has trouble falling asleep. I'm like, try just to make your bed for sleeping. And it's almost like it's like a cue to your brain. And so, yeah, I crawl in my bed and there's no rotten because if I'm in my bed, I'm asleep. It's just like a on-off switch.
I love that idea.
There's a little tip for everyone. And then I was like, your couch is for rotten and your bed is for bedding. Just separate the two.
Fair.
And it's not for everyone because some people are like, Keltie, I don't have a couch. And I think that's why my couch is so special to me because I only had my own couch as of 3 years ago. It's like a new thing in my life, having a couch. So
where were you sitting before?
My bed. I lived in like a 400 square foot apartment and there was no couch.
Okay. Like a studio.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the bed and my desk and that's what I had for a long time. So I feel you if you don't have a couch. Okay. But once you're ready to have that couch, it's so nice. Yeah. But speaking of which, here's some just other sleeping trends that I've seen, and I would love to know your thoughts, hot or not. Number 1, mouth taping.
I've never tried this. A company reached out and was like, we'd love to send you mouth tape. And I was like, please, I want to try it. I've been tempted to try it. Have you done it?
I've been tempted, but I'm not a mouth breather. Like that, I breathe through my nose. Like your tongue, you're supposed to, I could be wrong. Here's a little tip. Just everyone relax. Just relax. I'm not going to tell you what's about to happen. Just relax. Where's your tongue? Is it on the top of your mouth or the bottom? It's on
top.
Top? See, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. It means
really?
It means you're more likely breathing out your nose. If your tongue is down, you're more of a mouth breather. And it's just better for you. You can go into the science. I'm not going to bore you with that all, but ideally you want to, for like many of reasons, breathe out of your nose naturally. And yeah, I'm a nose breather, so I'm not going to use mouth tape.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's something about mouth tape that I feel like I would yank that off in my sleep.
I'm scared of suffocating. I know you won't, but like I also get allergies sometimes. So I'm like, what happened if I know, like, what happens? I'm assuming I'd wake up because I'm not breathing, but still, not for me.
Yeah. I used to sleep with a retainer in after my braces, and I would fling that thing in my sleep like no other. Like I just know that tape will be ripped off the minute I'm incoherent.
Yeah. It's Exactly. I'm like, this can't be good for your skin quality either. Like, that's got to be tough on the lips.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. If somebody likes it, right in.
You know what? Some people swear by it, so don't take our word for it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you are a mouth breather, there's your option. If you aren't breathing out your nose. But if you're breathing out your nose, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Number 2, sleep trackers.
I don't do this because I feel like I will read too much into it and think like if it says it got bad, I'm somebody that will, if I think too much about something, it will come on to me. I am the queen of like feeling an ailment and being like convinced of what it was. And then like I find out it's not even that. Like an example is I started my period yesterday and I was going to go for a run. And I was like, oh no, my brain is now coherent that I started bleeding. And I'm like, it's going to make me not want to do this. And you know what? I actually like ran like 3.7 miles nonstop. It was the best I'd ever done like in the past month. But like something about me being coherent about like I started my period today. I don't want to go to the gym because I just know it's like I will feel it more. So I feel like a sleep tracker, if they tell me, hey, you had shitty sleep, I'm going to no matter what. But then maybe I'll say you have great sleep and it might benefit. Yeah. What do you think? You do it.
My toxic trait is like I gave no F's about sleeping until I got a sleep tracker, being 100% honest. Because like there was no quantitative like thing. It was just like, oh, like 2 hours, 3 hours, who cares? Like I think I went to bed. But suddenly you gamify it. Oh my God, I could win at sleeping. It was the best thing for me. So suddenly I was like, I need that. Like I don't ever punish myself if I get a bad sleep on it, because then I just use the placebo effect and tell myself it's not good, the technology. Like I just lie. I'm like, it's not that accurate. But if it's good, I'm like, yeah, I'm the best sleeper. So it made sleeping a game. So as long as you can, like, I think not make you feel bad about yourself. I love it. But that's not for everyone. But I'll take any excuse to win at something.
Yeah, love it. All right. Number 3.
And then 3, the last one. People live streaming them sleeping.
I think that's so creepy. I just like, there's like anybody doing that. Like there are just so many disturbing humans out in the online world. Watch yourself. If you're sleeping, it's like, I was just telling Michael, do you ever have these thoughts where you're like, if I was high right now, this would make sense, but I'm not high right now. So I'm just saying these thoughts. This was one. I was like, all the time, at least once a day, my Roman Empire is how weird it is that humans need to sleep to recharge. We are essentially like robots. And like, we think it's just so normal that we need to like be unconscious in a way. Like we're charging, right? Like we plugged in and we're charging when we're sleeping for like 6 to 8 hours. Is that not the weirdest thing? So you want someone to watch you sleep when you're vulnerable and like someone could come and chop your head off and you wouldn't even wake up in time? Yeah. That's what my thoughts go to.
I just wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be so self-conscious. I'd be like, what happened if I like say something in my sleep, or if I fart in my sleep and that's on the internet? Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's a big no for me. I was like, no. Even though I'm pretty sure I'm like one of those sleepers that just curls into a ball and doesn't make a single noise or ever moves, but still, I just couldn't sleep.
You had to disclose you don't think you're a farty sleeper. We get it.
You know what? No, but I used one of those apps once that like tracks your sleep.
That shows if you fart?
Yeah. And I was like, I did. Everyone farts a little in their sleep, but I'm like, I'm actually quite a quiet sleeper. I would have thought the opposite. Like I'm a quite farty person. I'll fully admit to it, but I don't that much in my sleep, which is kind of nice.
That is. But do you see what I mean? Where it's a really weird concept to think that we're like recharging and that it's just so normal. It's like, like I think the same thing. Like, why do we think the sky being blue is normal? Like, this is where I'd be a fantastic stoner if I was one, because I think of these really weird questions. And my mom always said when I was a kid, I always wanted to know why. And I say, why? She'd be like, because it is, but why? And still right now, I'm like, but why? Why do we accept it?
Or the one that hurts my brain is like, think of blue. How do we know that you think of blue is the same shade as me? And we have no way to prove it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's blue to you, but blue to you could be green to me for all we know. So everyone else could have pink skies for all we know. And you're sitting here with blue sky and no idea.
Totally.
Speaking of things that we have no ideas about, headline number 2, the Battle of Summer 2024. We're going to look back and just remember 2 words, brat and demure. So if you're sleeping under a rock, just a little backup, summer, Charlie XCX, it was brat girl summer, feral girl. It was throw your morals out the window. And then near the end of summer, there's been a TikToker. She's blown up and everything's very mindful, very demure. Very, what's the other one she says? Demure.
Cutesy.
Cutesy is the other one. It's very cutesy. And the craziest thing about this all, which I kind of like, is 2 things. How quickly brands jumped on it. To the point, like, these are polar opposite things. Like, brat girl and demure. It could not be more polar. But then suddenly Coca-Cola has ads that's being brat girl. And then slowly they're like, oh, very cute, demure. And just the rapidness of within 24 hours, these brands and these, I don't know if it's Gen Z interns or them like, we have to jump on. But I'm like, can you jump on brat girl summer and demure girl summer? Or like, do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts?
Call me crazy though. Like, I bet Charlie's like, shit. Like when this came out. Yeah. Because if she wanted it to be brat girl summer, like for me, I saw nothing about brat girl summer other than hearing about it on podcasts. So it didn't go as viral, I think, like in my world as demure did. So I was like, like imagine Charlie's like, damn it, that was my slogan. And then it's like, no, this girl came and did demure. And like, also, I think I was just having a conversation with my friends about it, how like, I think some creator was saying that the demure girl like stole the idea. But the entire point of social media is everybody steals the ideas from each other.
Exactly.
She just executed on it better. And that's got to be hard to like sleep with, right? So
true.
The way she presented it was just hilarious. But like, I am already over it. So that's the thing I think with trends is like, yeah, it's funny for a day. It's funny for maybe a week tops. Yeah. And I do like it because it's like, just be conscious, like more self-aware. I like the meaning. Brat girl summer has no meaning to me other than like a bunch of contradictory, like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean be a brat? What does that mean? But demure, I already know what that means. Yeah. What do you think?
I think the one funny thing, like you said, to go off with trends is just the rapidness of it. Like, I just think of like the first friend in a group chat to use demure is always funny. Like the first person to say something, like that's so demure. Like, oh my God, hilarious, you said. But if you use it like 2 days later, it's like, oh, look at someone's on the trend. You know what I mean? And we're all so guilty of it being like, oh my God, that was so lame. Like, don't use that slang. And that slang used to take years. But now I feel like within a week. Like if a friend uses demure now, I'm kind of like, okay, we get it, demure. That was a week ago. Like it's crazy, wild? Just the rapidness of like how funny it is to how unfunny it is. Which is just crazy with the trend cycles. Like I can't keep up, but like we do keep up. I say we can't keep up, but I do. I'm fully aware of these. Like it's crazy.
It's kind of like that problem Netflix has where they let people binge their TV shows.
Yeah.
So then now they drop them off in like 2 parts or something because everybody was forgetting about the show immediately. That's how I feel with trends. Is like it's fleeting so much that like I'm already moved on. Yep. I love it for the demure girl. I hope she like imagine the brands that she could build of makeup or who knows. Like fully. If she's smart about it, ooh, girl can do a lot. But if she's not, then it could just flop.
And I do have to say though, it as funny as it sounds with those contradicting like things that become in, it also makes so much sense because I know for me starting a summer I want to go full brat, but like hot girl summer I'm like I want to go on vacation, I want to dance, I want to drink, I want to be wild, I want no routine, I just want to go enjoy. And by this time I'm like, oh my God, I want long dresses, I want to be covered up, I want to be polite and mannerism and routine and demure and cutesy. It is so like I feel just human nature. Like that's like we go wild all summer and you're like I don't want this anymore. I want to be, you know what I mean? I feel that's like we had our brat and we're like, give me 8 months and I'll bring her out again. I just want to be cutesy and demure for the next 8. And I think it's just the cycle of life. The cycle of life.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to lie though. I had posted a photo or a video in like this really cute dress, and somebody was like very demure, and I didn't know what it was.
Oh.
I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Like to be fair, I was traveling, so I like just wasn't
Fair.
on like so, and like right now I'm just not on it right now. But I was cracking up because I Googled what does demure mean, and I was like, oh God, like how did this girl even know it and I didn't? Mortifying.
But you know what's funny? You can just hop right back on. Like I think we used to all be like, oh my God, if I'm not up with the trends and all this, I'm like, there'll always be a new trend. Take a month, hop off board, get off social media, and then you just turn it right on and you're boom, right back in.
Exactly.
And like, you don't have to feel too bad about it.
No.
Now, speaking of not feeling too bad about things, the next headline, are these self-care trends actually toxic? And I found an article that just labeled a bunch of like self-care things we now do. And I want to know if you think they're actually not self-care and they're actually pretty toxic. Ready for this? Number 1, only doing things that feel good or spark joy. Hot or not?
Not, because I think like I do love the idea of it, of like positivity, doing things you like, but it depends on what you want. How do you build discipline if you're only doing things you like? Or how do you work hard if you're like, we don't always love what we do. So I would say not. What do you think?
Fully agree, not. I think sometimes self-care is being nice to yourself, but sometimes self-care is hard work. And the best example I could give is like the best way to build confidence is say you're going to run 5K and then go and run 5K. And you held that promise to yourself and boom, you built confidence. And that was self-care because you like built up your self-confidence. You did something good for yourself, but it was hard. Didn't feel good, but then you're happy you did it. So I'd agree. It depends. You need hard work sometimes.
Depends on the era you're in.
True. I like that. Seasons, eras, give and take.
Yeah.
Radical selfishness to the point that you don't think you should ever compromise or sacrifice. Do you mean never compromise it? It's always just like you, number one. Thoughts?
Ooh, these are good. I don't think it's hot because I do think there is a flaw in, I've always thought this as a fundamental problem of like, there's a flaw when someone's too extreme and will not waver to even like listen to another opinion. And I don't know, we could like give a fake scenario, but like where you're like, oh no, I will not even see that viewpoint, or I refuse to do X, Y, and Z. Like, what if it's a relationship? It's like two different types of people or two different types of like values, or I don't know. It depends maybe what your boundaries are for sure. But I think sometimes it's like, you do have to compromise or you do have to sacrifice things in life. Like that's because not the world doesn't view it the way you do. And that's the beauty of it. Right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Fully. I feel like it's not ironic that we're in like a loneliness epidemic with Gen Z and millennials. And then we're also like the most self-absorbed self-care generation in the sense that it's all like, oh, I feel good, put up these boundaries, like don't compromise. Listen, I'm like, to at a point, like there's definitely, you don't want to be a pushover, and I'm guilty of that. But at the same time, like we don't want to go so far that you never do nice things for other people. Because at the end of the day, doing nice things for other people is literally the meaning of life. Nothing makes you feel like when you become an adult, it doesn't feel good to get gifts. It feels good to give gifts. And I think it's just like that says it all right there. So I think we forget a lot that like you might be tired and overworked, but doing something good for someone will probably make you feel better. And so, yeah, I was like, I think you can be, the world doesn't revolve around you. We all need to remember that.
Yeah. Just remember, if you are ever feeling extreme about some opinion or maybe you're like, I really don't want to do this. Just remember, there will always be a flaw if somebody is so extreme. Think of extreme problems we have in the world. There's always a flaw because it's like nobody will see it both ways when there's always going to be two opinions. Like I don't know. I try to practice that a lot because I feel like I can always be extreme in my viewpoints with just things in general, and I think it's good to compromise or understand other points. I think that's healthy and mature.
Exactly. Always see, there's a saying no one says anymore, walk a mile in someone else's shoes. Remember that was always like, that was such a thing growing up. It's like, remember what, you don't know what it's like to be that other person. And I think we all need a bit more of that.
Yeah.
Now this one is what would be the word? I can't, any of the words I was going to use is the word. Anyways, I'm just going to say it. Weaponizing therapy terms. Example, boundaries. Triggered. Thoughts. I know, I was going to say this one's very triggering.
It's so Gen Z. I don't know. I definitely think this happens. I was just listening to a podcast today that my friend and I both listened to.
Yeah.
And I won't say the podcast, I won't say who it is, but this person made these comments. This is the example. I'm curious what you think. She has this is her best friend, okay? And maid of honor best friend. And the ongoing joke is they're so opposite, and that she always is setting boundaries to the friend, being like, you text me too much, you constantly bug me too much, I need better boundaries with you so you're not bugging me as often, or you're not respecting my time when I'm with my partner, whatever it may be, right? I sent a voice memo to my friend that listens to this podcast being like, hot take, I don't think I'd want to be friends with somebody that talked to me that way, because the other friend is overbearing, and that's her shtick, is that's her personality. Why would you ever make somebody feel bad for that when she may be texting you just thinking of you, or you could also wait to respond later on. But the boundary thing, we had just talked, that I was you were kind of weaponizing that term, being I need boundaries, but really you're kind of coming off as a mean friend, because what's so bad about her just thinking of you, texting you a lot? That just might be the way she shows love.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think that's a prime example of and this is me not being a therapist, so I can't say, but just as someone who's been in therapy and all that, is we have these terms, which is nice. It's good. We have to vocalize things, but then we use them when we don't need them. There is times in your life, even with friends, you do have to put up boundaries. You don't necessarily have to tell them, but it might be as simple as, oh, come over right now. Sorry, I got to go to bed. I need to be up early. That's setting a boundary, but you didn't have to say, totally, you don't respect me, I need to put up boundaries. Now, if a friend is super manipulative, yeah, you might have to say, hey, I love you, but put up boundaries. And that's a good example. But then I think because we have all these terms, we use them. And I'll use this as an example. Everyone used to say OCD. Oh, I have such OCD because I'm so I just so organized. And then I was if you knew anything about OCD, it has very little to do with being organized. It means you're obsessive about numbers and da. And so we know not to say OCD unless it's extreme. And I think we need to remember that with triggered and boundaries. There's definitely times you'll be triggered, times to use boundaries, times to use therapy talk and examples. But that doesn't mean, do you know what I mean? We can't just throw it away all the time, because some things aren't that deep and that extreme that you need to put up these crazy boundaries and all that. So I could be wrong, but I think using the OCD term is the best example of people do have OCD. I have clinically diagnosed OCD, but that's, you know what I mean? That there's a difference, and I'm not offended if someone uses it, but do you know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense.
No, yeah, I get it. It is. I feel that is a hot take though, because there are a lot of people that they love to use those words, and that is appropriate at some point. But also there's some points I'm do you have to make somebody feel bad? Or do you have I think it's more private, personally. Yeah. With my own triggers, I'm not over here being you're triggering me. I'm just okay, I'll just remove myself from the situation. Just I did learn in therapy, Yeah. So it's kind of interesting where some people make an excuse for it, in a way. But I don't know. What do I know? We're not therapists. That's just my take. I'm just oh my God, okay.
Yeah. And even sometimes I'll put a trigger warning on when saying really needs a trigger warning, but also sometimes I'm triggered and I'm oh, what do I need to learn about that? I try and back to that selfishness, is it's taking on you don't want to make someone else feel bad. You're oh, why is that triggering me? And I think that's been a great thing in my own growth of anytime you feel those ways, you're you self-examine why am I set off? So but we're not therapists, but just some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's one. Thinking self-care needs to be done alone or cost money. Think face mask at home, bath, bubble bath, self-care.
Oh yeah. Not hot. I don't think you need to cost money. I think it could be as simple as going for a run or a walk, or reading a book in a quiet corner.
Yeah, fully. I've learned that like sometimes self-care for me is seeing my friends. And even if I'm burnt out, seeing my friends will make me feel better. And I'm extroverted. I need to remind myself of that. Like you'll feel better by seeing people, not being alone because you're alone so much. And just like reminding. And like you said, capitalism has just weaponized self-care. And so we've now masked it as, oh, it's a bubble bath. And all of a sudden that can be a little bit of it. But self-care should not make you financially irresponsible, myself included.
Yeah.
Diet cultures, anti-gluten, carbs, calorie, dairy, sugar, all those are evils. Thoughts?
I mean, obviously not hot. Yeah. I think diets are not, for a really, really long time, I was somebody that was even like, don't like pay attention to your calories or your macros. And then you know what? I just like did a little bit more education on it and like just tried to see a different point of view because I was so extreme about it. And it helped me immensely in just regulating how I felt, my energy levels. And now I just present two options to the girls I train. You can do it this way, or like calories and macros are not your enemy. They are not scary if we make them not scary. It's like past experiences that we've dealt with. But
definitely.
What do you think?
Oh, fully. Like everyone knows I'm not like anti any food. You want a bunch of good foods. But even like you said, I think that it's funny. We also weaponize things like calories and macros and all that, which I do think become obsessive. And it is a pipeline down to some very disordered eating. But at the same time, I think it was really, and we've all been guilty of it, like how obnoxious of so many fitness influencers to be like, just eat intuitively, listen to your body. And then everyone's sitting here and being like, my body wants me to eat Doritos. Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Just being like, it's just so easy. Just listen. And like, unless you're like, you have to be so educated, so in tune with your body, to be able to just intuitively eat if you're not.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think it's just like you said, it's really listening to like what's best for someone and is going to allow them to enjoy food and be the healthiest version of themselves. But it's not black and white. It's not this or that. It's many factors.
I agree. I had this epiphany like recently that I maybe about a year and a half to almost 2 years ago, like right after I married Michael, I put on a lot of weight and I just wasn't training as often. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and that's okay because we go through seasons and we shouldn't always have to look the same, especially fitness influencers are always like, oh, you're not ripped, like, and then they make you feel awful, right? But I had this epiphany recently because I was just weighing myself because I'm going to do the challenge with the girls. And I am down 12 pounds from what I was when I very first started my 8-week cut.
Yeah.
Almost. Well, it was last summer. So I guess not 2 years ago. It was last summer that I started it.
About a year.
And I was like blown away. And it was because I think I got comfortable and I was just intuitively eating for so long that I lost like touch of what I actually needed of like proteins and things like that. And so my body just put on a ton of weight from it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never had this issue before. And then that's when I started educating myself on macronutrients and just trying like a plan that was recommended. And I mean, a year later, and like I've been able to maintain it and I feel so much more normal. My mood swings were insane. I was just like, I didn't know what it was. So I do think there's some benefit to that where sometimes people only see the bads of intuitive eating or macro tracking. They always think it's either the extremes, one or the other. I'm here to tell you that sometimes both extremes are bad.
And it just comes down to education. It's so cheesy, but like once you educate, you're like, oh, and like you said, that will allow you to be in tune with your body. And
now I track macros like once a week if I just feel like I'm off on it and just being like, oh, okay, I'll add more protein because I feel better when I do it. Like I sit healthier at this weight that I'm at than before because I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. And like you said, it's not Bible. It's not like saying you have to do. It's a tool that you can do. And that's the difference right there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last one in this topic. Productivity as self-worth and a constant pursuit of efficiency.
What do you mean by that?
That your self-worth is like your success. Like how much, like how successful you are is your self-worth. Like, and just every day trying to be more efficient, more productive, just that constant be like, not even just success, but every day has to be optimized 100% in productivity, that kind of concept.
You know, if we were all robots, I would love that concept, but we're not, except for when we sleep. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's hot because when I've tried to do this, I burn out. So I have to give myself breaks. What do you think?
It's my most toxic trait of actually one of many, but it's something I'm really working on, is that like not every single second has to be productive. Like I'm very guilty of like, I wake up at 5. My morning routine has to be optimized as little as possible, the most amount done. I get to work. I work 6 to 5, and then every hour has to do. I just take 20-minute break, and then everything has to be 90-minute work blocks. And I take just 3 minutes of quick rest to be able to work out. And then I go home and I do this sauna routine, and I do this, and like even my rest has to be optimized. And that like my sleep has to be optimized, and everything is just like, and my weekends means this and this and this. And like, you're allowed to just be at times, and like there's nothing wrong. It does make you productive, but like what's the point of life? And I do love what I do, which can get you blinded, like, and then you just get in that routine. But even this weekend, I remember at one point being like, oh, I could read a book, oh, but I could be doing this and this. I'm like, you could just read. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna research on this. So I'm like, okay, I bought this book and researching. I'm like, you can just read for 20 minutes for nothing but pleasure. That's okay. And then in my mind, I start going, oh, but pleasure will like downregulate my cortisol. So I'll actually be healthier because I'm down. You know what I mean? And like everything's still, even when it's unoptimized. And I think like self-care, like just the whole wellness fitness world is just constant like that. Even your rest is about resting, like to be optimal. And just sometimes no reason, you're just going to read a book, or you're just going to sit there. I just sat there and just looked out at the waves for no other reason than to just remember life is worth living.
I agree. I think that's a normal thing to struggle with, especially if you're like a type A type of person and you're driven, and it's just like those reminders to do something for fun. For so long, I didn't read books because that were fictional, because I thought that wasn't productive, right?
Yeah.
And now that's like my escape. So it's like, if you just find that balance of what you do love and accepting it and allowing it, I think that's perfect.
I love that. I love that. So we might as well finish off with a few questions from our audience.
Okay.
And this one seemed fitting for today's episode. But number 1, how to start a fitness Instagram. Any tips?
Ooh, consistency. That's like the number one thing people fail at, is just being consistent. So batch your content if you want. Use hashtags to meet like-minded people, get in communities, things like that, and be yourself. Because I think that's what people do the best, is not just, I mean, there's some truth to replicating trends, right? Like we just said, but if you can spin it and do it better and be the demure, the 2.0, you'll do well and you'll find your community. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd say decide 2 things. 1, you actually just want a fitness account to document your own fitness and just have fun with it. Do not copy anyone. Just be super what you feel like in the day. Use the music you like, use the aesthetic you like. Just go on Pinterest and copy and just make it a creative little fun documentation. On the flip side, if you want to do it because you actually like, I want to be a fitness influencer, I want to be a personal trainer, I want it to be niche down. Pick a specific niche, whether it be, I'd start like weightlifting girls in Edmonton. And just tell all the weightlifting girls in Edmonton, this is the best gym. And this is my favorite equipment at this gym. And then once you get some traction, do Edmonton, so go to Alberta, and then go Canada, and then go north. And so like start niche that's authentic to you, that's in your scope, and directed, and like directly talk to someone. I feel that's the best way. Social media is about connection at the end of the day. And like, just pretend I was like, I want to target girls who are into fitness in Puerto Rico. So I'm going to pretend this post is for Sav. Like that's how I would think if you really want to succeed and do something of service, because that should be the point of like, if you want to grow social media, it should be for others, not yourself, unless you want it to be yourself, and then just make it a fun, creative outlet.
Yeah. I think a good point too is like, if you felt like there was something missing, add it, like bring that value. Because when I started, I just didn't feel like I knew any, and to be fair, it was extreme back then. It was bodybuilders. It was the extreme YouTubers. And like, I just was like, man, does nobody else like also drink? Does nobody else also sometimes just eat some Ben and Jerry's? Yeah. And so that's where I was like, well, I'm just going to, show this. Yeah. But like, So think of something that maybe you would like to see and that you're missing. And then there might be some girls that feel the same way.
Perfect advice. Perfect advice.
Period. All right. Well.
Drop mic.
Oh, are we ending?
We can rapid fire one more.
Okay.
Upcoming fitness trends or technology. Name one.
What?
Just upcoming fitness trends or technology. Like fitness tech.
Do you think I know this?
I'm going to say
I can barely even get my laptop to work.
I think High Rocks, that like CrossFit, is going to be like that hybrid athlete. And I think that's going to be the next big thing you're going to see a lot more of. Just kind of how CrossFit became so big that if you don't know what it is, High Rocks, it's like you run for a kilometer, you do a workout exercise, and then you run a kilometer, you like repeat it 8 times. It is these worldwide competitions. And I think that's the next big trend.
Okay. I didn't even know what that was. So I'm glad you said.
There we
go. This is how I'm equally clueless. You know these trends because you have to make YouTube videos on them.
I do. I'm deep in the algorithm.
I'm over here
research.
making fucking pumpkin spice muffins on my free time.
I'm like,
and reading about assassins at the moment. So
I need more of that in my life. Right now I'm too much like analytics of Google Trends in 2018 to 20.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It is like, you know, the end of the year. I get it.
Yeah. It is like that.
Yeah.
It is like that.
You mean you don't just like post whatever you want whenever you want?
Oh, totally. I just wing it. I don't think about it at all. No thought goes into it.
That's like when people are like, yeah, I don't know how I grew. Like, I just started posting. I'm like, we all know that's a fat lie.
Yeah. Have you been on Google? Have you been on Google Trends? Did you research it? Did you?
Yeah. I'm like, odd.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, maybe not anymore.
Yeah. Every blue moon, I'll give it. But
yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in this week. DM us if you have a confession session, if you want us to answer any questions. And then also feel free to write us a review. We love to read them. Hopefully they're positive and happy. If not, keep it to yourself. You have nothing to say, don't say it at all. And then, leave us a review. Follow us on YouTube. We are, our faces are on there. And we'll see you next time.
Love you. Bye.